Hello everybody, thought I'd make a video on like a build update because obviously I've made the sort of budget league starter memes, farmed a bunch of currency with that really comfortably, and obviously I have made enough money to transition over to Omniscience. So this item's a bit of a weird one this league because the elemental penetration elemental mastery here that gives you 25% chance to treat enemy monsters elemental resistances as inverted is really good without Omniscience, right? But with Omniscience, as you can see, I've got 117% pen, so like 17% of my Omni is wasted, but obviously it's giving me resistances. So from transitioning to Omni, I have lost, let's have a quick look at what I have essentially sacrificed. So I sacrificed Death Rush, so Adrenaline is no longer being procced, which is fine, I think, for the damage gain. I've dropped a Taming, I've dropped just my rare helmet with a Tornado Shot enchant, and then I've obviously dropped a Rampage as well. So for a mapping scenario, the maps are about the same speed with Inspired Learning because you still buffs and you've got a bunch of shrines and you're still really fast, so the Rampage isn't that great, and I'm pretty shit at maintaining Rampage, so mine would like always fall off during Legion. So I've lost conditional damage to gain consistent damage. So before this transition I was like 600k DPS per Tornado Shot projectile, I want to say about 600-700k, and then I'll put POB on the screen. Transform, this is the issue of having such a huge monitor, so it might be a bit blurry because my monitor is downscaling from 4k. So as you can see, with the same build, same tree, I'm now at 954k DPS per projectile, and that is, well, Tailwind is irrelevant, right? It doesn't really make a difference, just movement speed. And that's with power charges, frenzy charges, obviously inspiration charges don't make a difference, but I'll stick them up to 5. As you see, the DPS is the same because it, you know, assumes you have maximum anyway. I've shocked, chilled and ignited recently because of my cluster jewel that gives me damage for all 3 of those, and I have and will be doing that because I'm hitting with all 3 elements. I put 10% shock because I'm using Wrath, so I have like really hard lightning damage and I'm penetrating, so this might be even higher than I think, and there we go. So I am perfectly resistance capped, which is getting this sorted was a bit frustrating. I still managed to keep the ailment immunity with the Ancestral Vision, so as you can see I'm still running Ancestral Vision, and I've dropped the spell suppression nodes here because if I turn the window capture off, I have spell suppression on the implicit on the gloves, and then spell suppression, I think it's tier 1, tier 2, yeah, tier 1 spell suppression on the gloves with the implicit, and I went with greater because I didn't need grand, because I could solve the problem like financially cheaper. And I've just got attack speed on the implicit here. I think I'm going to swap it out for rage for the mapping situation, but I haven't quite decided because I just threw these together within the last sort of 45 minutes. Boots, I've gone for ailment avoidance on the implicit and then chaos res. I think chaos res is like really important, especially for Legion, because the only thing you die to most of the time, if you're doing Legion, you'll notice it's just chaos damage. With the Exile altars as well, is a lot of like fire as extra chaos, or physical as extra chaos, or like mob steal extra chaos damage, for example. So chaos res is really valuable. So by dropping the Taming and the Death Rush, I've managed to pick up 2 amethyst rings, so that's, you know, given me a really nice amount of chaos res. So I'm sitting on 48% now, which is pretty good. I picked up a Black Suncrest, so this is like surprisingly good. So, you know, 14%, 12%, 8%. So intelligence, you don't really get an awful lot of intelligence on the build, and there's not an awful lot of intelligence on the raider side of the tree, or fucking ranger side of the tree. So having a low percent intelligence doesn't really matter. So getting 40% strength, dex, and additional tornado shot projectile is really, really good, because this only cost me 3 divines, so that's pretty good. My Omni is pretty shit, but like the attributes requirement thing, it doesn't really matter at all, because you will satisfy the requirements with like the amount of Omniscience you need for it to be a DPS upgrade anyway. I'm still using the same quiver, just flat lightning, life, chaos res, additional arrow, and damage with bow skills with crafted crit. Bows are the same as well. Flasks haven't changed. I've still got attack speed. I might change the attack speed to crit, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think I need the crit because I'm still at 80% with power charges, which is more than enough. So I don't feel like I'm in desperate need for critical strike chance. And I bought a new Stygian Vise with strength in life and then crafted wed. And I have a bunch of mana on my gear, so as you can see, I've got mana on the gloves, mana on the belt, mana on the boots, as well as I think one of the rings have mana. Yeah, one of the rings have mana as well, and that's because precision gives you is a flat mana reservation, right? So increasing your mana pool by a flat amount actually increases your mana pool when you reserve precision. It's only by a small amount, but it does make a difference. And by doing that, I've been able to anoint utmost intellect, and I did think for the time being I was going to have to anoint charisma, which is somewhere over here, but it's basically just mana reservation efficiency. I don't know where it is, but I had it anointed earlier and then I managed to fix the issue, so I anointed utmost intellect. So yeah, overall it's been pretty good transition. Character's really powerful, and then when you go Omniscience as well, you drop the elemental node here, so you don't need the hits have a chance to treat elemental resistances as inverted, because you are penetrating over 100% of those resistances. And then to keep up my ailment immunity, I think, to be honest, I think it might be the best way, because you're still giving up a dual socket if you go so you're still giving up a dual socket if you go Storm Shroud, and it lets you get double attributes, chaos res, and then another prefix. So like these boots are really, really nice. You know, I've got tier 1 chaos res, strength, int, and mana. And mana is quite valuable as an Omniscience build, because obviously intelligence doesn't give you mana, surprisingly, because all your attributes are being converted into Omniscience. As you can see, like my evasion has gone down. I'm only at 19k evasion, and during Flask I'm at like 27k. That is obviously because all my evasion from my gear has been converted into Omniscience, so I'm no longer benefiting from that. So if you've played Omniscience, or you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know. Cluster Jewel hasn't changed, still running Storm Rider Sadist. However, I did have to change the Mana Forge setup to just have Frenzy. I also found out that because when you run Ricochet and the projectiles are like chaining with terrain, the Ensnaring Arrow will actually chain as well, and it won't proc on like single target, so you're actually not benefiting on like map bosses or like unique enemies, like so it's like Legion Generals, for example. I'm still running 2 Inspired Learnings, as you can see, and if I have done it correctly, I'm like pretty sure, but I should be level 100 by the time I get my Headhunter, or like close to. I'll be 99, I want to say. So when I swap this out for the Headhunter, I should still be resistance capped because of the attributes on the Headhunter. However, if I'm not, I would just take one with nature at level 99 to get the 8% resistances that I will essentially lose from not having this belt equipped. Obviously attributes on the Headhunter will make up the rest, so it should be fine. Plans when I get the Headhunter is obviously Inspired Learning here is a bit of like a double-edged sword. So it's really good because it gives you the consistency of running 2 Inspired Learnings, but you lose a timeless jewel. But I think 2 Inspired Learnings before a Headhunter is really, really good. Obviously when you get the Headhunter you run none. So I'm going to be replacing this jewel here with a timeless jewel, because timeless jewels in this swaps specifically are really strong, and then I'll be dropping the Inspired Learning here and probably dropping like down to this node here, and taking the King of the Hill for the crit potentially, or doing something different if I put a Thread of Hope in this socket here. I'm not 100% sure, and I haven't thought that far ahead, because this build is quite tight on the way I've built it, but overall at this point I've probably put about 50 divines into the character. On single target I have like 50 mil DPS if you include the ballistas. Still really tanky, still maps really well. I lost a tiny bit of speed, but I've gained a load of unconditional damage, and I'll put the powerful building in the description, just to sort of, you know, show it off. For example, my internet's being a bit dodgy, but I will do a map as well, so as you can see this is like an absolutely horrendous map. I'm missing something in here. Cartographer's Scarab for some reason. Why am I missing Cartographer's Scarab? That's weird. Oh well, I'll just run it without one, because it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, overall the transition to Omniscience has been pretty damn good. I need to put incubators on my gear as well, which is frustrating. I'll just stick on a bunch of currency ones just to get it over with. I'm not gonna think about it too much, obviously because I've equipped a bunch of new gear, my incubators are not present. So overall, yeah, it's still really good. I'm still doing the same sort of strategy of I'm searching for the shrines and picking up any of the nodes. So the gloom shrine is one you care about the most, and then sort of scouting out the sulfite nodes. I don't think I need to be doing the sulfite stuff, and I probably could invest into something a bit better on the Atlas tree. But as you can see, it still maps really well, and once you get like up and running, like once you open the first legion, you get a few Inspired Learning buffs. It does feel really good. It basically, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like pretty much the same for clearing, but obviously stuff like the Legion Generals die really quick, besides the Templar one because he goes immune. As you can see, Legion Generals are complete actual joke, and the Val General is no longer much of a threat either because I've managed to get Chaos Res, so I'm pretty happy in regards to that. So I should start leveling up, unless I get like one shot by physical damage, which is, you know, probable without running any armor, but that's something I'll tackle once I've got my Headhunter. But generally with the Headhunter buffs, like Inspired Learning buffs and stuff, you don't really fall over. I've died a couple of times during level 97, and that's mainly because of the way I do the maps. So with Inspired Learning and like Shrine buffs, it's all about, you know, using the buffs to gain momentum and like fully clear out the map during the borrowed power sort of state you're in. So like you want to basically juice all the legions when you have loads of Headhunter buffs. Sort of kill all the mobs you can and then run straight to the boss. I know like maybe running to the boss is a bit more optimal because you don't get the like minion altars, but yeah, so I'm not going to bore you with looting. I'm just going to do the outro. Build maps amazingly well still. Bunch more Chaos Res is really nice, especially with the Exile altars. POB will be in the description. I'm not going Fist of Cold because I don't have enough time to make a bunch of currency this early. So I'm just going to go for the Headhunter, and then I may go Fist of Cold once I've got a Headhunter, but it depends on the price of a Mage Blood, and if Mage Blood sits around like 250 like it did last league, I'll just be farming for a Mage Blood and then transitioning Fist of Cold, or just playing a different build. It just depends on if I'm burnt on Tornado Shock, because obviously 500 hours of it last league definitely took its toll. But yeah, that's just the little build update for the Tornado Shot. Obviously I'm now Omniscience, which feels pretty nice. But that was with no Headhunter buffs, obviously, and you can see the single target damage is definitely a lot better than it was if anyone was playing something similar to this build. But that is everything, so thanks for watching and see you next time.